Commander Ryan Brooks remembered the day everything changed as he stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon and watched the stars shift around them. 3 years ago, his exploration mission had been routine, searching for new mineral deposits in the outer systems. The ship carried a crew of 200 scientists and engineers, all excited about the possibility of finding resources that could fuel humanity's expansion into deep space. The first sign of trouble had been a massive energy signature appearing on their sensors. Ryan had ordered his crew to battle stations, but nothing could have prepared them for what came next. The alien ships materialized out of nowhere, their hulls gleaming like black metal and their weapons already charging for attack. Ryan had tried to communicate using every frequency and protocol known to human science. For long minutes there had been no response except the steady approach of the alien fleet. Then a voice had spoken in perfect English, cold and mechanical like a computer trying to sound human. "Primitive vessel, you will surrender immediately and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in your destruction and the complete elimination of your species." The alien fleet commander identified himself as Sub-Commander Veltar of the Galactic Dominion. His words carried the weight of absolute authority, as if he had given this same ultimatum to countless other species. Ryan could hear the boredom in the alien's voice, the casual dismissal of human life as if they were insects to be stepped on. But Ryan had done something that surprised the aliens. Instead of surrendering or attacking, he had started negotiating. He asked questions about Dominion law, their territorial claims, and their intentions toward humanity. Every minute of conversation was being transmitted back to Earth through quantum communication arrays. Diplomat Amanda Foster had joined the conversation from her position in the ship's communication center. Her training in interspecies relations had never covered actual aliens, but she adapted quickly to the situation. Amanda kept the Dominion talking while Earth's defense networks came online and military leaders analyzed every word. Sub-Commander Veltar had seemed amused by human audacity. These primitive creatures actually thought they could bargain with the galaxy's supreme power. The alien had explained that the Dominion controlled over 10,000 star systems and had never met a species that could resist their technology. "Your weapons are primitive and your ships are slow," Veltar had said with what sounded like laughter. "We have conquered species far more advanced than yours. Submit now, and your deaths will be quick." Amanda had continued asking questions about Dominion culture and government while Ryan maneuvered the horizon to stay out of weapons range. The aliens could have destroyed them easily but seemed content to toy with their prey. This arrogance would prove to be their first mistake. On Earth, General Chris Taylor had watched the first contact proceedings from a bunker deep beneath the Pentagon. The quantum communication system allowed real-time observation of events happening dozens of light years away. Chris could see the alien ships on his screens and hear every word of the conversation. The general had immediately activated humanity's most secret defense protocol. Military bases across Earth began powering up weapons that had been hidden for decades. Orbital platforms that looked like communication satellites revealed their true nature as missile launchers. Even civilian space stations began extending gun batteries that had been disguised as solar panels. Dr. Patricia Wong had been working in her laboratory at MIT when the alert came through. She grabbed her emergency kit and ran for the shuttle that would take her to the hidden research facility in Antarctica. Her work on theoretical weapons technology was about to become very practical, very quickly. The facility in Antarctica had been built to study exotic physics and develop new forms of energy manipulation. Dr. Wong and her team had been working on projects that most scientists considered impossible. The alien threat gave them permission to test theories that had been too dangerous to attempt before. Captain Sam Rodriguez had been training new pilots at the secret base in Nevada when orders came to begin combat preparations. The base existed officially as a testing ground for experimental aircraft, but its real purpose was to develop space combat tactics. Sam's pilots were about to face their first real test against an enemy that had never lost a battle. Back on the Cho Horizon, Ryan had kept the conversation going for over 4 hours while Earth prepared its defenses. The aliens had grown impatient with human questions and demands for clarification. Sub-Commander Veltar had finally ended the discussion with a warning that would haunt human dreams for years to come. "You have entertained us with your primitive attempts at diplomacy," the alien had said. "We will withdraw now to gather a proper fleet for your conquest. Use this time to prepare your surrender because we will return within one of your years to claim your worlds." The alien ships had vanished as suddenly as they appeared, leaving the horizon alone among the stars. Ryan had immediately ordered a course back to Earth at maximum speed. The crew worked frantically to analyze every piece of data they had gathered about alien technology and capabilities. Amanda had spent the return journey writing reports on alien psychology and communication patterns. Her observations would become the foundation for humanity's understanding of Dominion culture and military doctrine. The aliens were arrogant and systematic, treating conquest like a business operation. When the horizon reached Earth, Ryan found a world transformed by fear and determination. Every major city had been evacuated to underground shelters while the surface bristled with new defensive weapons. Orbital space was crowded with military vessels that had been built in secret over the past decade. General Taylor had briefed Ryan and his crew on humanity's response plan. The aliens expected a primitive species that would crumble at the first sign of superior technology. Instead, they would find an enemy that had spent a full year preparing for total war. Dr. Wong had successfully reverse-engineered several alien technologies from the sensor data collected during first contact. Her team had built prototypes of weapons and shields that could match Dominion capabilities. More importantly, they had identified weaknesses in alien designs that could be exploited. Captain Rodriguez had trained over 5,000 pilots in combat tactics designed specifically to fight Dominion ships. Human fighters would be smaller and faster than anything the aliens had encountered before. They would attack in swarms using unpredictable movements that alien computers could not track. The year of preparation had transformed humanity from a peaceful species into a war machine focused on one goal: survival. When the Dominion returned, they would find that their prey had grown teeth and claws sharp enough to cut through alien armor. Ryan often wondered if the aliens realized their mistake in giving humanity time to prepare. Sub-Commander Veltar had thought he was being generous by allowing the primitive humans to contemplate their fate. Instead, he had given Earth's greatest warriors and scientists exactly what they needed most: time to turn the impossible into reality. Admiral Zekthor stood before the massive viewing screen aboard the Dominion flagship Eternal Glory and watched the stars beyond the Forbidden Zone. 3 cycles had passed since the Galactic Dominion declared the Sol system, and 50 light-years, around it completely off-limits to all civilized species. The humans, those strange bipedal creatures from the third planet, were now trapped inside their cage like wild animals in a zoo. The Admiral's scaled hands moved across the control panel as he reviewed the official decree one more time. The document glowed with imperial seals and bore the marks of the High Council itself. No ship was to enter Terran space and no human vessel was to leave it. Any violation would result in immediate destruction. The primitive species had been contained and the galaxy was safe. Zekthor felt satisfaction as he remembered the ease of this victory. The humans had not even fought back when the quarantine was announced. They had simply accepted their fate, like the weak creatures they were. The Dominion had expected months of warfare but instead found a species that knew when it was beaten. Far below, on the third planet of the Sol system, Captain Jake Morrison received the latest transmission from Dominion forces at Luna Base. The message repeated the same warning it had broadcast every day for 3 years. Humans were to remain within their boundaries or face complete destruction. Jake read the words without emotion and deleted the file. Luna Base buzzed with activity as hundreds of people worked at stations throughout the underground facility. The base had been built into the moon's surface and expanded far beyond what any alien scanner could detect. What looked like a small research station from space was actually a massive command center that stretched for miles beneath the lunar surface. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Parker approached Jake's station with a data pad in her hands. Her brown eyes showed the same calm determination that had kept the human resistance alive for 3 long years. She had spent months learning to decode alien communication protocols, and her work had given humanity a window into Dominion plans and movements. The latest intercepts show they're still confident we're contained, Lisa said as she handed Jake the pad. Their patrol routes haven't changed and they're not scanning our perimeter as carefully as they used to. Jake nodded as he reviewed the information. The Dominion had grown lazy in their watch over humanity. Their ships still patrolled the quarantine border, but they did so with the casual attitude of guards watching a prison they knew was secure. This complacency was exactly what humanity had been counting on. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, Dr. Henry Collins worked in a laboratory that officially did not exist. The underground complex housed some of Earth's greatest scientific minds and their most dangerous research projects. Henry had been studying alien technology for 3 years, ever since the first Dominion ship had been captured intact. The alien vessel sat in the center of the lab like a metallic insect. Its hull was smooth and dark, reflecting the work lights in strange patterns. Henry had spent countless hours learning how Dominion weapons and shields functioned. More importantly, he had discovered their weaknesses. Henry's latest discovery made his blood run cold. The aliens had biological weapons designed to target specific DNA patterns. They could wipe out entire species without harming the environment or infrastructure. The humans would simply die and the Dominion would move in to claim the empty cities. But Henry had found something else in the alien computer systems. The Dominion had used these weapons before on dozens of other species. Entire civilizations had been erased to make room for Dominion expansion. The aliens were not just conquerors. They were genocidal monsters who saw other life forms as obstacles to be removed. In the orbital shipyards hidden behind Earth's moon, engineer Kelly Davis made final adjustments to humanity's most important project. The massive construction facility had been built in secret over the past 2 years, using materials mined from asteroids and powered by fusion reactors that produced no detectable signatures. Kelly floated in zero gravity as she checked the quantum displacement drive one more time. The technology was based on theoretical physics that human scientists had developed decades ago, but never had the resources to build. The alien invasion had provided both the motivation and the exotic materials needed to make the impossible possible. The drive would allow human ships to travel vast distances without using normal space lanes. They could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning and disappear just as quickly. More importantly, they could leave the quarantine zone without the Dominion ever knowing they were gone. Kelly activated her communication system and spoke to the teams working throughout the shipyard. All systems are green. We're ready for the first test run. The ship that would carry the drive was unlike anything humanity had built before. It was sleek and angular, designed to be invisible to Dominion sensors, while carrying enough firepower to level a city. The vessel had no name yet because its existence was still secret from everyone except the highest levels of human command. Back on Luna Base, Jake Morrison stood in the command center and watched reports come in from teams across the solar system. Construction projects were nearing completion on Mars, Europa, and in the asteroid belt. Human colonies that had been evacuated when the quarantine began were now heavily fortified military bases. The Dominion thought they had trapped humanity in a cage, but they had actually given humans 3 years to prepare for war. Every day of the quarantine had been used to build weapons, train soldiers, and plan for the moment when the trap would be sprung. Jake activated the main communication array and sent a coded message to teams throughout human space. The message was simple, but its meaning was clear to everyone who received it. The garden is ready for harvest. Outside the quarantine zone, Dominion ships continued their lazy patrols, confident that the human problem had been solved without a single shot being fired. Their sensors showed empty space where human ships should be if they were trying to escape. The aliens had no idea that humanity had found other ways to leave their cage. The quarantine was not a prison, it was a trap, and the Dominion had walked into it willingly. Fleet Admiral Torgesh reviewed the patrol reports from the quarantine border with satisfaction. 2 years had passed since the Dominion established the containment zone around human space, and the primitive species had shown no signs of attempting escape. Their ships remained within the designated boundaries like obedient pets in a cage. The Admiral's command ship, the Stellar Dominance, maintained a lazy orbit around the outer marker buoys that defined the quarantine zone. His sensors showed empty space beyond the human territory, exactly as expected. The creatures had apparently accepted their fate and reduced their deep space activities to almost nothing. On the bridge of his massive vessel, Torgesh studied the holographic display that showed Dominion territory stretching across thousands of star systems. The human quarantine zone appeared as a small red circle near the edge of civilized space, isolated and contained. It was a perfect example of Dominion efficiency in dealing with primitive threats. The fleet admiral activated his communication system and spoke to his subordinate commanders throughout the region. Continue standard patrol protocols. The humans remain properly contained and show no signs of resistance. Reduce scanning frequency to conserve energy for more important operations. Far away on the Dominion homeworld of Zerion Prime, High Chancellor Krixtal addressed the Galactic Council in the Great Assembly Hall. Thousands of representatives from conquered species listened as he described the success of the human quarantine. The primitive bipeds had been neutralized without a single Dominion casualty. The human problem demonstrates the superiority of our peaceful containment methods, Krixtal announced to the assembled delegates. Rather than waste resources on military conquest, we have achieved total victory through strategic isolation. The quarantine serves as a warning to other primitive species who might consider resistance. The council members expressed their approval, with the traditional harmonic vibrations that indicated unanimous agreement. Several representatives from recently conquered worlds made notes about the efficiency of containment over destruction. The Dominion had found a new model for dealing with species that were too primitive to serve as useful slaves. Unknown to the Dominion leadership, Captain Alex Turner was conducting covert operations far beyond the quarantine zone at that very moment. His ship, the Shadow Runner, drifted through an asteroid field in the Arcturus system, its hull designed to mimic the heat signature and composition of space debris. Alex had been leading reconnaissance missions for 18 months, using ships built specifically to avoid Dominion detection systems. The vessels were small and carried minimal crews, but they were equipped with the most advanced sensor technology humanity could develop. Every mission gathered intelligence about alien military positions and patrol patterns. Communications Officer Maya Hendricks worked at her station aboard the Shadow Runner, intercepting Dominion military frequencies with equipment that should not have existed. Her arrays could decode alien transmissions from hundreds of light years away, providing detailed information about fleet movements and strategic planning. I'm picking up routine status reports from the Vega garrison, Maya reported quietly. They're complaining about reduced supply shipments and requesting additional entertainment programs for the troops. Sounds like they're getting bored. Alex smiled at this information. Bored soldiers made mistakes, and mistakes created opportunities. The Dominion had grown so confident in their containment of humanity that they were treating guard duty as a vacation assignment. Their patrols had become predictable and their defenses had relaxed. Deep in the hidden laboratories beneath Antarctica, Dr. Frank Miller completed the final calculations for the quantum displacement drive. The technology represented humanity's greatest scientific achievement, allowing ships to move through folded space without leaving detectable energy signatures. The drive could transport vessels instantly across vast distances, bypassing normal space lanes entirely. Dr. Miller's team had built the prototype using materials salvaged from the first alien ship captured during initial contact. The exotic elements in Dominion technology had properties that human science was only beginning to understand. Ironically, the aliens had provided the key to their own defeat. Test pilot Nicole Grant prepared for another trial run of the displacement system in the outer asteroid belt. Her ship, designated only as Test Vehicle 7, was invisible to conventional sensors and could appear anywhere in the solar system within seconds. The technology worked perfectly, but each test brought humanity closer to revealing their secret. Nicole activated the displacement drive and felt the strange sensation of reality shifting around her. Space twisted and folded as the ship moved through dimensions that had no names in human language. When normal space reasserted itself, she was orbiting Saturn instead of Mars, having crossed half the solar system in the blink of an eye. Displacement successful, Nicole reported through quantum communication. No energy signature detected and no gravitational disturbance. The drive is ready for operational deployment. Back on Zerion Prime, intelligence analysts presented their latest reports to High Chancellor Krixtal in his private office. The data confirmed what Dominion leadership wanted to hear. Human activity within the quarantine zone had decreased significantly over the past year. The species appeared to be settling into acceptance of their captivity. Thermal signatures indicate reduced industrial activity on the human homeworld, the chief analyst reported. Their space traffic has dropped to minimal levels, and we detect no military buildups near the quarantine boundary. The containment appears to have broken their spirit. Krixtal reviewed the reports with satisfaction. The humans had proven to be even weaker than initially estimated. Most species took several years to fully accept Dominion superiority, but these creatures had given up hope in less than 2 years. It was almost disappointing how easily they had been broken. The High Chancellor made a note to reduce resources allocated to monitoring the quarantine zone. The humans clearly posed no threat, and the patrol fleets could be better used in other regions where primitive species might actually attempt resistance. The quarantine had become a complete success story. In reality, the reduced thermal signatures on Earth were the result of massive construction projects moving underground and into space. Human industrial capacity had not decreased, but had instead been hidden from alien sensors through careful engineering and misdirection. Every day brought new weapons, ships, and defensive systems online. Captain Alex Turner completed his latest reconnaissance mission and prepared to return to human space through secret routes that the Dominion had never discovered. His ship carried data about alien military bases in 17 star systems, information that would be crucial when humanity finally revealed its true capabilities. The Shadowrunner used asteroid fields and nebula clouds to mask its movement as it approached the quarantine boundary. Alex had perfected techniques for crossing into human space without triggering alien sensors, allowing him to conduct operations that should have been impossible under the containment protocols. As his ship slipped past the outer marker buoys, Alex reflected on the irony of the situation. The Dominion believed they had successfully caged humanity, but their quarantine had actually provided perfect cover for human expansion into alien territory. While the aliens watched empty space, human ships moved freely through the galaxy using technology the Dominion could not detect. Fleet Admiral Torgesh concluded his shift with a routine report to High Command. The quarantine remained secure. The humans showed no signs of resistance, and Dominion superiority was unchallenged. He had no idea that human ships had been operating in his patrol zone for months, gathering intelligence and establishing hidden bases throughout Dominion space. The Dominion's confidence in their containment of humanity was absolute, and this confidence would prove to be their greatest weakness when the trap was finally sprung. Commander Zarkith was examining mineral surveys from the Vega system when his scanning officer reported an impossible reading. The Dominion mining fleet had been working the asteroid fields around Vega 7 for 3 months, extracting rare metals for the war machine. Nothing in the system should have been capable of supporting life, yet the sensors showed clear signs of an established settlement. "Commander, I'm detecting artificial structures on the 7th planet's surface," the scanning officer reported, with confusion in his voice. "The signatures suggest a colony with at least 10,000 inhabitants and advanced defensive systems." Zarkith moved to the sensor station and studied the readings himself. The data was unmistakable but completely impossible. Vega 7 was a barren rock with no atmosphere and no resources that could support a colony. More importantly, it was deep, inside Dominion territory, hundreds of light years from the quarantine zone that contained the humans. The commander ordered his fleet to approach the planet for closer investigation. As they drew near, the impossibility became even more shocking. The colony was not just present but thriving, with orbital platforms, surface installations, and energy signatures that indicated advanced technology. Colony Administrator Peter Johnson stood in the command center of New Vega Station and watched the Dominion ships approach. He had been expecting this moment for months, ever since intelligence reports indicated alien mining operations in the outer system. The humans had prepared carefully for first contact with Dominion forces outside the quarantine zone. Peter activated the communication array and transmitted a greeting to the approaching alien fleet. His message was broadcast in perfect Dominion, standard language, using protocols that should have been unknown to any quarantined species. Welcome to the Vega System, Commander Zarkeith. I am Administrator Johnson of the human colony on Vega 7th. We have been monitoring your mining operations and hope to establish peaceful relations with your fleet. The message stunned the Dominion commander into silence. Not only was there a human colony where none should exist, but they knew his name and rank. The implications were staggering and terrifying. If humans were present in the Vega system, how many other Dominion territories had been infiltrated? Security Chief Rachel Martinez prepared the colony's defenses as the alien ships entered orbit around Vega 7. The defensive systems had been built using technology reverse-engineered from captured Dominion vessels, but enhanced with human innovations that the aliens had never encountered. Rachel's weapon arrays were designed to exploit weaknesses in Dominion shielding that human scientists had discovered during 3 years of careful analysis. The defenses appeared minimal to alien sensors but could devastate an entire fleet if activated. The colony looked vulnerable but was actually a deadly trap. Engineer Kyle Thompson activated the demonstration protocols that would show the Dominion just how advanced human technology had become. His fusion reactors produced energy signatures that Dominion science considered impossible, while his manufacturing systems created materials that should not have existed. Kyle had spent 2 years building the colony using quantum displacement, technology that allowed instant transport of materials and personnel from Earth. Every component had been carefully designed to shock Dominion observers and demonstrate capabilities far beyond what they expected from primitive humans. Commander, Zarkeith demanded an explanation for the colony's existence and received answers that shattered his understanding of the quarantine's effectiveness. Administrator Johnson calmly explained that humans had been present in the Vega system for 18 months, establishing a thriving settlement using advanced technology. Your quarantine has been ineffective, Commander, Peter said with diplomatic politeness. We have been expanding throughout this region for quite some time. This colony is one of many that we have established beyond the boundaries you attempted to impose. The revelation sent shockwaves through Dominion Command as Zarkeith transmitted his findings back to Fleet Headquarters. Within hours, Admiral Velkoth was leading an emergency investigation into the scope of human infiltration. What they discovered was beyond their worst nightmares. Admiral Velkoth commanded a fleet of 50 vessels as they began systematic scans of systems throughout Dominion space. The investigation revealed human settlements in dozens of locations, each one defended by technology that rendered Dominion sensors almost useless. The quarantine had been a complete illusion. The human colonies were not hidden bases or secret outposts, but established settlements with full populations and defensive capabilities. Each one had been built using the quantum displacement technology that allowed humans to travel vast distances without leaving detectable traces. Captain Steve Wilson commanded the UES Defiance when Dominion forces finally attempted to remove a human colony by force. His ship had been waiting in the asteroid belt around Kepler 442, ready to demonstrate human combat capabilities for the first time. The moment had finally arrived. The Defiance was unlike any vessel the Dominion had encountered before. Its hull was angular and aggressive, covered with weapon systems that had no equivalent in alien technology. The ship moved with impossible speed and agility, using thruster technology based on principles the Dominion did not understand. Lieutenant Emma Clark served as tactical officer aboard the Defiance and coordinated the first engagement between human and Dominion forces since the quarantine began. Her combat systems were designed around human military doctrine that emphasized speed, unpredictability, and overwhelming firepower, applied at precisely the right moment. The battle lasted only 17 minutes but changed the course of galactic history. The Defiance used weapons that penetrated Dominion shields as if they did not exist, while its own defenses absorbed alien attacks without showing any damage. The human ship fought in ways that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Emma's tactical systems targeted Dominion vessels with precision that seemed impossible, striking weak points that alien designers thought were perfectly protected. Her weapons used energy frequencies that Dominion shields could not deflect, while her defensive systems absorbed incoming fire and converted it into additional power. The Dominion fleet retreated in confusion after losing 3 ships to a single human vessel. Admiral Velkoth could not understand how one small ship had devastated his forces using technology that appeared to violate the laws of physics. His retreat signaled the end of Dominion confidence in their superiority. Captain Wilson allowed the aliens to escape so they could report what they had witnessed to their command structure. The demonstration had served its purpose perfectly, showing the Dominion that humans were not the primitive species they had assumed. The quarantine had failed completely. High Chancellor Krikstal received reports of the engagement while meeting with the Galactic Council on Zerion Prime. The news that human ships were operating freely throughout Dominion space with superior technology sent panic through the assembled representatives. The containment strategy had backfired catastrophically. The Council realized that the quarantine had never actually contained humanity at all. Instead, it had provided perfect cover for human expansion while the Dominion watched empty space. The aliens had been monitoring a prison that contained no prisoners, while their enemies spread throughout the galaxy. Emergency sessions began immediately as Dominion leadership tried to understand the full scope of human infiltration. Intelligence reports flooded in from across their territory, each one confirming the presence of human settlements and defensive installations. The quarantine zone had been empty while humans established themselves everywhere else. Admiral Velkoth prepared his forces for total war as he realized the truth about human capabilities. The species they had dismissed as primitive had been studying Dominion technology for 3 years and had developed counters for every alien weapon system. The quarantine had given humans everything they needed to plan the perfect trap. The false peace was over and the real war was about to begin, but the Dominion had already lost the most important battle, the element of surprise. They faced an enemy that knew their weaknesses while hiding strengths that alien science could barely comprehend. War erupted across 12 sectors simultaneously, as Admiral Tony Richards activated the final phase of humanity's 3-year plan. His flagship, the UES Retribution, emerged from its hiding place in the Orion Nebula, along with 200 other human vessels that had been waiting for this moment. The Terran fleet revealed itself to the galaxy for the first time, and the sight was terrifying. The Retribution was a massive dreadnought built using technology that combined human innovation with captured Dominion science. Its hull bristled with weapons that could crack planets, and its shields could deflect the combined firepower of an entire alien fleet. Tony had spent 2 years planning this moment when humanity would show the galaxy its true face. Admiral Richards opened communication channels to every Dominion base within 50 light-years of his position. His message was broadcast simultaneously across multiple star systems, ensuring that Alien Command would understand the scope of what they faced. This is Admiral Richards of the Terran Defense Force. The quarantine you imposed on humanity is hereby terminated. Dominion forces have 1 hour to evacuate human territory or face complete destruction. This is your only warning. The message shocked Dominion commanders throughout the region, but the real surprise came when human fleets materialized out of empty space near every major alien installation. The quantum displacement drives allowed instant deployment of overwhelming force at hundreds of locations simultaneously. Dr. Michelle Roberts activated the biological warfare protocols she had spent 3 years developing in her secret laboratory on Europa. Her weapons were specifically designed to target Dominion physiology while leaving other species completely unharmed. The aliens had made the mistake of providing detailed biological data during their first contact with humanity. Michelle's viral agents spread through Dominion ships and bases like invisible fire, causing system failures and cognitive disruption among alien crews. The weapons did not kill, but instead made it impossible for Dominion forces to coordinate their responses or operate their technology effectively. General Paul Anderson coordinated simultaneous attacks across 50 star systems from his command center hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. His strategic planning had turned the galaxy into a massive chessboard where humanity held all the advantages. Every move had been calculated years in advance. Paul's forces struck with precision that seemed impossible, hitting exactly the right targets at precisely the right moments to cause maximum disruption to Dominion command structure. Human ships, appeared where alien defenses were weakest and vanished before counterattacks could be organized. Supreme Admiral HFY led the Dominion's desperate counterattack from his command ship at the heart of their territory. He commanded over 5,000 vessels and had never lost a battle in 40 years of service. But nothing in his experience had prepared him for fighting an enemy that refused to follow any recognizable pattern of warfare. Human ships fought without honor or predictable strategy, using tactics that violated every principle of civilized combat. They would sacrifice individual vessels to achieve strategic objectives, coordinate attacks across impossible distances, and strike at targets that seemed to have no military value but somehow crippled entire Dominion operations. Captain Dan Foster demonstrated humanity's willingness to trade lives for victory when he rammed his destroyer directly into a Dominion command ship rather than allow it to escape with crucial intelligence. His sacrifice eliminated the alien fleet's ability to coordinate their defenses and opened the way for a human assault that captured an entire star system. Dan's final transmission became legendary among human forces. Tell them we don't surrender, and we don't retreat. Tell them humanity remembers every species they destroyed. The sacrifice inspired human forces throughout the war zone and terrified Dominion troops who had never encountered an enemy willing to die to achieve victory. Alien morale collapsed as they realized they faced opponents who valued success above survival. Engineer Sophie Taylor prepared the final phase of the human war plan from her station aboard a hidden base in the Centauri system. Her quantum displacement network could transport the entire Terran fleet instantly to any location in the galaxy, including the heavily defended Dominion homeworld of Xerion Prime. Sophie had spent 3 years building the network using resources salvaged from abandoned Dominion installations and materials mined from secret asteroid bases. The system represented humanity's greatest engineering achievement and would deliver the final blow to alien resistance. As Dominion forces collapsed, sector by sector, High Chancellor Crixtal finally understood the terrible truth about the quarantine. Humanity had never been contained, but had instead used the isolation to prepare for total war. The aliens had been watching empty space while their enemies spread throughout the galaxy like a plague. The High Chancellor tried to rally Dominion forces for a final defense of their core worlds, but human attacks had shattered their command structure and destroyed their ability to coordinate large-scale operations. Individual fleets fought desperately but could not stop the human advance. Supreme Admiral HFY made his last stand in the Xerion system as human forces materialized around the Dominion homeworld. His remaining ships formed a defensive perimeter around the planet, but they faced odds that no military force could overcome. The Terran fleet had grown to over 3,000 vessels. Admiral Richards offered the Dominion one final chance to surrender before beginning the assault on their capital world. His message was broadcast to every alien ship and installation in the system, giving them 1 hour to lay down their weapons and submit to human authority. You declared our space forbidden and learned too late that some cages cannot hold their prey, Tony said in his final ultimatum. Surrender now or watch your civilization burn as you burned so many others. The response came not from the military but from High Chancellor Crixtal himself, speaking from the capital city of Xerion Prime. His voice carried the weight of defeat and the bitter knowledge that his species had awakened something that should have been left alone. We surrender unconditionally to human forces. The Galactic Dominion submits to Terran authority and requests mercy for our surviving populations. Engineer Sophie Taylor activated the quantum displacement network one final time, not to transport weapons or troops but to bring human diplomatic teams to every Dominion world simultaneously. The transition from war to occupation happened in minutes rather than months. The galaxy learned that humanity had never been the primitive species they appeared to be, but were instead apex predators who had disguised themselves as prey. The Dominion had walked willingly into a trap that had been 3 years in the making. As news of the Dominion's surrender spread throughout the galaxy, other species began to understand the true lesson of the human war. Some boundaries should never be crossed, some cages should never be built, and some species should be avoided entirely rather than challenged. Admiral Richards stood on the bridge of the Retribution as it entered orbit around Xerion Prime and reflected on the price. of arrogance. The Dominion had declared Terran space forbidden, and had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons, but their absolute refusal to accept defeat. The quarantine was over, the war was won, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.